First, though, Randy Kay on one case and how a system designed to protect kids traumatized a family.
Is there a pony on my head?
The nightmare for Greg and Juliana Kaplan begins at their Washington, D.C. home, August 30th, 2007. Juliana is changing one of her 8-month-old twins' diapers. The other is playing on the floor.
I heard a thud, which I knew was her head, and that she had fallen back and bonked her head on the floor.
Hours later, the baby starts vomiting. They rush her to the emergency room where doctors keep her overnight. The next day, doctors conclude there are signs of retinal hemorrhaging, bleeding in the membrane of the eye. Then, doctors turn the Kaplan's world upside down.
We were told that there was a concern that she might have been abused and that they had called in their child abuse specialist to interview us.
Immediately, Child and Family Services place a medical hold on the little girl to keep her in the hospital. They suspect something called shaken baby syndrome, for which retinal hemorrhaging can be a red flag. But no doctor can say for sure the child has been shaken. Then, for the Kaplans, it gets worse.
I mean, the social worker, it's still emotional to think about it. She told me that we have to remove the other child, and I said, well, wait, let's talk about this.
Child and Family Services didn't wait for a full investigation to take action. About 24 hours after their injured baby was taken to the hospital, social workers removed her twin sister from the home. They showed up here with 2 police cars, lights flashing. It was around 1 a.m. Mr. Kaplan says that he was told to wake his daughter up, remove her from the crib, and hand her over. The couple says they weren't even told where their daughter was being taken. Peter Nichols handled the Kaplan case for the city.
There was a significant suspicion, not conclusive at the time, but significant suspicion that they had suffered from shaken baby syndrome.
So now, does that suspicion warrant removing the uninjured child immediately?
Yes. Their mandate is to take the child into effectively a protective custody status until there can be a probable cause hearing.
And while they wait for that hearing, the police report is released, showing, quote, 5 examining physicians gave no indication or cause to support abuse. Still, the twins remained in foster care at just 8 months old. What was it like to think of them living in foster care?
I mean, it's terrible. I don't know what to tell you. You know, I mean, here we are several years out, and it's like I don't think I'll ever be able to talk about it without being emotional.
Then, after more than 2 weeks in foster care, a judge at a hearing on the case finds no probable cause for abuse. But it's not over yet. October 17th, the city, that is Washington, D.C., offers to cut a deal. If the couple undergoes anger management and psychological evaluations and acknowledges neglect, they can avoid a trial. The Kaplans reject it. Weeks later, November 15th, the news the Kaplans have waited for. The city announces the case is dismissed.
We were able to get a medical expert witness to testify that it is, in fact, possible and plausible that a child with a head size like our daughter had would be susceptible to trauma, to bleeding in the head upon little to no trauma, and that in combination with retching and vomiting could be a perfectly innocuous explanation for the retinal hemorrhaging.
You might think the story, the nightmare for the Kaplans, ends here, but it doesn't. On December 11th, 2007, Child and Family Services labeled their investigation, quote, inconclusive, automatically adding the Kaplans to the city's child protection registry. That means if their daughters are injured, even on the playground, the Kaplans are automatically suspects. It takes more than 7 months for the Kaplans to get their names removed from the child abuse registry. Do you have any regrets about how this case was handled? Do you believe that some steps should have been handled differently?
No, I do not.
No regrets at all?
I have no regrets about the way the case was handled.
Do you believe the city was overly aggressive
No.
in handling the Kaplan's case?
No, absolutely not.
The Kaplans say it cost $75,000 to defend themselves. Now they are suing for $1 million, alleging recklessness and malicious acts by the D.C. government, its agencies, and individual employees.
They have no systems and no regard and nothing in place to make sure that innocent families don't get caught up in the net.
A net that's already entangled them for years. Randy Kaye, CNN, Washington.